through, and you're going to clear things out, and you'll probably get a beautiful sunset as the storms move in. So let's take a closer look here from East Windsor on to the east. We're going to track this tornado-warned storm. It's actually going to head toward Tolland. I'm sure our weather watcher Kevin in Tolland is going to be keeping us apprised of the storm's development as it moves in, heading toward 84. But Ellington, shortly, if not already, the western part of Ellington, right on the line there with East Windsor, the storm's already in your backyard. Crystal Lake at 532, Tolland 533, and heading toward Willington at 544. So at least the radar presentation, if I go over to velocity, so what I'm able to do here is I'm able to see the direction and the speed at which the raindrops or the hailstones are moving in the storm. And it can tell me a couple things. One, it can tell me if there's a damaging wind threat, but it can also indicate any rotation. And Josh, there's still some rotation here in East Windsor along Route 140, Depot Street, Windsorville Road, and this is going to be in Ellington shortly, Broadbrook Road. I believe this is like Ellington, Four Corners is over here, Frog Hollow Road, Jobs Hill Road. Let me zoom back out a little bit. So you're still under that tornado warning in Ellington. Can't let your guard down in Ellington as the storm approaches from the west. Best things to do during a tornado warning: basement, small interior rooms, stay away from windows as the storm moves on through, and we'll keep you posted. We'll give you the all clear after that storm moves through your neighborhood. So again, severe thunderstorm warning and tornado warnings in effect now for parts of Hartford and Tolland counties from this thunderstorm moving in. The severe thunderstorm warning up toward Torrington has been canceled. So the storm we're concerned about now is the one just to the north of Hartford. And I just checked on my social media on Twitter and Facebook. I have not seen any damage reports, and that is good news. A lot of times when we're looking at these storms on radar, we're looking at the rotation that's 5,000, 6,000 feet up, and so it's not all the time the rotation comes down to the ground. So the clouds up high were spinning around pretty good, but no indication right now that a tornado did develop. But that can change quickly, and so you've got to take these warnings seriously. Because it'll be
interesting to see if the National Weather Service extends that tornado warning. I mean, the rotation we saw before certainly isn't there. I mean, there is a little bit of weak rotation right now, but certainly not what it was.
It's not, but I will say, I mean, I do think there's a decent damaging wind threat here. I'm picking up winds 70 miles an hour coming into Broadbrook right now, coming into Ellington. So yeah, I agree, Josh. Probably not going to continue. I think that's some bad data. I wouldn't rely.
It is bad data.
Yeah, yep. I wouldn't rely on that one. But yeah, 60, 70 mile an hour winds coming out of East Windsor over toward Ellington. Same issues before. That's a little bit higher up in the clouds, but certainly can indicate the potential for some damaging winds heading toward Ellington. So it doesn't look to me that they're going to extend this warning out to the east.
And it's set to expire in about 10 minutes from now.
Yeah, so the tornado warning here for Ellington and East Windsor, those are the areas we're concerned about. The tornado warning is going to expire at 5:30. But still, in Tolland, you're going to get quite a storm shortly. I'm sure it's already getting dark. You can hear the thunder as it comes in, and the wind's going to pick up as well as the storm moves on through. So from Summers down through East Windsor, that's the storm we're watching now. The rotational part of this is just to the east of Bradley now, crossing through East Windsor, heading into Ellington. And I'll zoom in one more time here, give you a closer look.
200 outages, so statewide that is. So okay. That's some good news.
And we'll switch that over to wind. Yeah, I'm still looking at rotation here. Not as strong, but crossing into Ellington right now. Should pass just north of Rockville, but barely. It's going to, let's say, just maybe a quarter mile north of Rockville is going to get this strong wind. And you absolutely have some decent rotation right there. And some strong winds moving right through Ellington. So let's take a look at some of the roads in Ellington that are next at risk. So the northern part of Rockville, so the very northern part of Vernon, up toward the Ellington line. If you are on Mountain Road in Ellington, Hopkins Road, let's go a little farther south. So this is Route 83 coming on up. Middle Butcher Road, Highland Avenue, Courtney Drive here, and the Shinipsic Lake Road, Tyler Drive, and then back towards Shinipsic Lake Road. This is Shinipsic Lake right here, obviously. The winds are coming right towards you, so the winds are going to pick up, and you certainly do run the risk of losing some trees and some power lines as the storm approaches. So the best thing to do, just stay inside till the storm passes. These are some big winds showing up here. I'll switch the radar back over.
And Ryan, one thing I'm keeping an eye on kind of behind the scenes over here is how the storm's performing higher up in the atmosphere, and it does look like this storm is showing some signs of strengthening. So
really,
we'll have to keep an eye on the on that, and if the winds strengthen from there.
All right, let's take a live look outside in Windsor if we can, and you can see, oh yeah, looking out in the distance there, that's that thunderstorm. This is the 291 flyover, so we're looking we're almost looking across the Connecticut River there, but as you look off to the east, northeast, and the northeast, there's that storm that's moving on through. And that is, 291 there at Route 218. So looking just to the north and east up toward Ellington, you can see that storm in the distance. Let's go back to live first alert Doppler radar. I'll show you exactly where that storm was. So that's where we're looking at off to the north and east. And there's the storm that's coming in, heading toward Tolland. The tornado warning is going to expire in a couple minutes here, but still you've got the potential, even without the tornado warning, you've got the potential for some good winds. There's a lot of wind in the atmosphere, and I'm seeing that signal, these bright blues especially, moving through Ellington, just to the north of Vernon, very close to Rockville. That's where you've got some of the stronger winds, and stronger wind, and heading right towards Shinipsit Lake. There's the lake. There's 84. There's Rockville. There's that stronger wind coming in. All right, let's head over to NBC Connecticut's Matt Austin. He was with the storm as it crossed in from the Berkshires. He was in Suffield. And Matt, what are you looking at right now?
Yeah, right now we are actually on the east side of Bradley International Airport. We are traveling south on 75, and you can see the storm has moved quickly through this area. We have a lot of rain puddling on the roads here. We haven't really seen any damage. There's been some branches down, some leaves down, but it seems that this storm with those powerful winds, and when it hit, boy, did it really hit some really good gusts. We actually parked our live truck in a kind of a safer spot to get away from those really strong wind gusts. But the storm itself, as you have been saying, is moving to the east of us very, very quickly. And as I rotate the live camera here, you might be able to see a little bit of the storm as we peer east off toward 91 in that direction. But at least over here right now, the rain is starting to subside. It was torrential rain here for a little bit. Now we have just some light rain, and the wind has calmed down a lot. Again, not really seeing that much in terms of damage. And in our route, we went from East Granby to Suffield, and then down into the Windsor Locks area. Just seeing some leaves down, some small branches, but doesn't appear of anything major at this point.
All right, Matt, that is great to hear. Thank you very much. Matt Austin live in Suffield was with the storm as it moved on through. And we do have a new update from the Weather Service. They have extended the tornado warning now into portions of Windham County. So now all of Tolland County and Windham County under that tornado warning. And let's take a
5:45
closer look here. That goes until 5:45. So we're going to have another at least a half an hour with this tornado warning. So it does include the extreme western part of Windham County. We've got a tornado warning in effect now. The potential's there for some small hail, some strong gusty winds, but certainly good to hear that there hasn't been any significant damage.
We do have some power line reports down in Enfield on Parsons Road, Ryan. Also some hail being reported in Enfield, but other than that, like you said, really not looking at much in the way of issues. Hey, let's go to live first alert Doppler radar. If we can switch over to Max A really quick here. Just want to show you this tornado warning as it approaches the I-84 corridor. For those heading home from work, I-84 could be a bit of a mess in a little bit here, and you can see the line of storms. If we can switch on over to, oh, there it is, Max A, and you can see that line of storms moving through, moving towards the I-84 corridor. But what I do want to show you is the velocity here. What originally prompted this tornado warning, as I rewind the radar really quick, is you can see where these red and blue colors come together. That's what caused that tornado warning. Now we're starting to see that strengthening occur once again. We're starting to see a little bit more in the way of rotation, so we're going to have to keep a really close eye on things here. But you can see where these blue colors are going towards the radar, so they're heading out towards Boston. That's where the wind is blowing. The red colors heading away from the radar, and we are seeing more in the way of some rotation right there. It's not super strong rotation, so that's certainly some good news.
Check this out, Josh.
That's interesting.
I just switched this over to another radar site. I just have a different look at the storm, but right over Ellington and heading right over Rockville, I definitely still see a rotational signature here. So we gotta keep heading right towards Shinipsit Lake. Route 83, right on the Rockville-Ellington line. I definitely see some rotation there that bears watching. And so sometimes, the nice thing is with Live First Alert Doppler radar, we've got a couple different options here, so we can look at a couple different radar sites. But that area, Rockville-Ellington, right on the border, seems to be the hotspot right now, and that's why the Weather Service kept the warning going. Let's head over to Max C at the weather wall if we can and take a closer look at that tornado warning. I'm going to give you another storm time here. Let's go back over. Let's see if I can see that. Yeah, still some rotation, at least some strong gusty winds. Ellington, Rockville line. And let's go one more time here to the storm track. So moving just toward Tolland and Willington. There's your storm timing for you. Tolland at 5:36, South Willington 5:43, Willington 5:46, East Willington at 5:49, and Storrs at 5:51. If you're in this tornado warning in Tolland County or that small sliver of Windham County, this is what you should be doing. Basement or small interior rooms, stay away from windows, and stay with us here on NBC Connecticut. Keep the volume on the TV up, and we'll let you know if you're good to go, if the storm has moved past, because the storms are moving fairly quickly. I mean, they're not stalling out. They're not redeveloping in the same spot. So once the storm moves through, you'll definitely see things improve pretty quickly. Let's take a look live outside in Windsor and see that storm moving in. So we're looking at the 291 flyover there, and that's the storm in the distance. Hard to see a whole lot there. It is sort of far out in the distance, but there certainly is the potential with the lowering of the clouds there to be talking about some tornadic potential, and the radar is showing, live first alert Doppler, absolutely, that the clouds are spinning around, so we've got that rotation up at cloud level. We'll head on back over to live first alert Doppler radar, and there you go. So we were looking from 291, so we're looking up toward this storm. The tornado potential is going to be heading right over Tolland shortly. I think overall the tornado potential is fairly low. It's not zero, it's low though. Heading out through Rockville, heading toward Tolland as well. Should pass south of Crystal Lake, but along Route 30. Mountain Spring Road, heading toward Old Stafford Road. That's the area we're watching for this potential tornado to develop. And there to the north, especially, once you get farther north, up towards Summers and Stafford Springs, you've got the rain and potentially some hail as well. But farther to the south, that's where you've got the potential for that tornado to develop. North of 84, at least for right now, but it could come close to crossing 84 in the Tolland area shortly. Go back over here to velocity mode for you and take a look. Still got some strong winds coming along 74 in Rockville, just to the north of 84. And we'll zoom in a little bit more here for you and take a look to see the areas we're looking at. So there's Tolland Center, there's Route 30, heading over toward Robbins Circle. Got to be in a safe spot on Robbins Circle. Possible tornado coming in from the west, Lakeview Heights, Crestwood Road. There's Route 30 that heads up toward Crystal Lake. That's where radar is indicating that we've got this rotation coming in from the west. So it's coming over Shinipset Lake right now, heading toward the Tolland area. That's where you've got the potential for this tornado to develop. Again, the rotation signatures sort of peaked over Suffield when the storm was moving in from Massachusetts. They've weakened a bit since, but it's hard to know at what time. All it takes is a split second for the storm to strengthen a little bit, and then suddenly you've got a tornado that has developed in your neighborhood. So you got to take these things seriously, because we still have that rotation showing up over Rockville. Right along 84. 84 is going to get some good wind right now, if not already, coming down that big hill, or going up that hill from Tolland up toward Vernon. That's where the worst of this is coming through right now. So you get pretty high up there on 84, up to about 700 or 800 feet, and that's where you've got the strongest winds coming in right now. Switch this back over. Let's give a storm track for you so you can time it out as it heads toward your neighborhood. So Tolland is next. Areas just west of the Tolland Green getting hit now. I do think, just looking at this storm, it seems to be more, instead of more of a supercell storm, which have the potential to produce tornadoes, this is more of a sort of a line of thunderstorms. And once we get that to happen, once the storm transitions, the tornado threat continues to lower. But South Willington 541, Willington 545, Storrs at 549. It's going to come close to Yukon here. Yukon is in that tornado warning now, so I imagine
would just put out a tweet telling their community there to seek shelter immediately. Tornado warning: if outdoors, seek shelter immediately. If inside, stay where you are. Avoid windows and doors. That's from University of Connecticut out of Storrs.
Yeah, I imagine a lot of the Yukon students there back at school just got that alert on their phone. They are in a tornado warning in Yukon. So here's Mansfield. Storrs is right here. There's North Eagleville Road. There's 44 up toward Coventry. There's Coventry back there, but there's 44 to the north. And so far the storm is still, we've got probably about 10 miles before this storm moves in. But this is the line of thunderstorms that has the potential to produce a tornado here. And let's switch back over. I just keep watching the velocity mode here to see if we've got any updates. And yeah, I've got Josh, some weak rotation, but nothing that's really jumping out at me here. What are you seeing, Josh?
And Ryan, we are seeing some rotation off of another. We monitor multiple radars here in Connecticut. We have a radar up in Albany, radar in Boston, and then of course radar down in Long Island. And a couple of the radars are showing us, more in the way of rotation, but we are still seeing some rotation associated with this. If we can go over to Max A, please, I can show you what we're looking at here. Right along Route 74, and you can see coming into Rockville, you can see these bright blue colors showing where the strong winds are. We're dealing with, and you can see it updated right there, right along Reed Road. You see that blue color, that bright blue color, right along Interstate 84. That's showing us winds at around 3,000 to 4,000 feet. That are, around 50 to 55 knots, which means around 60 to 65 miles per hour or so, and that's moving right along the Interstate 84 corridor. You can see that going on right here, but I do want to give you a track because we want to show you where this is headed, and we can do that with our storm cone here. We can show you that it's moving off to the south and east, around east-southeast, around 30 miles per hour, so we expect it in Stores around 548, Mansfield around 550, and out towards Spring Hill around 552, Ryan.
All right, great. Let's take a look live outside. We've got a live pictures. This is from Newington, showing the storm moving on through. But I want to show that camera, if we can, from Bradley Airport. I think that had a nice look of the storm as it departed. And you can see that's sort of the calm after the storm overhead pushing away. And now things are beginning to improve at Windsor Locks with this storm as it moved on through. Darren Sweeney was actually on the tarmac trying to board a plane on south and said that there was a ground stop at Bradley. No planes landing or taking off. Obviously, you don't want to be in a plane during a tornado warning. That happened back in 1979, 40 years ago. On October 3rd, the tornado hit Bradley Airport, but at this point, no reports of any tornadic damage through northern Connecticut, which is good. Let's go back to live first alert Doppler radar. Still looking at some rotation here right along 84 in Tolland, near the Tolland Green, and I'll show you where that rotation is. Closer look here. There you go, Mountain Spring Road, Route 30. In Tolland, you've got a little bit of rotation. It's not as strong as it was. Now it seems to have really just gone away a lot. So I think this warning, I'm guessing the Weather Service is going to let it expire. We have seen a lot of rotation up at cloud level, but that has not really translated down to the ground from what we can tell. But sometimes it takes a little while to get some storm reports in. But Tolland right now, you've got to be in a safe spot. And this is going to clip. It's going to come close to Stores, close to 44, moving through Merrow and heading up into portions of Ashford. This is the tornado warning that's in effect. Hartford County, East Windsor, you're in the clear right now. Windsor Locks, you're in the clear. Enfield, you're in the clear. Somers, you're in the clear. Those areas are good to go. You're behind the storm. The storm has passed. You may get some sun to come out shortly. It's the leading edge of this. If there's a tornado, it's going to be right along 84 right now. But I don't see a whole lot here that's particularly concerning with this storm. It just looks like a mess on velocity. So I'm just seeing a lot of sort of a hodgepodge of winds moving in different directions here, but nothing that's concerning. And there's an update to the tornado warning here, and no real change. They just sort of trimmed some of the areas that we said. We said Somers was in the clear. Now they've trimmed that area from the tornado warning. Also got a good storm heading into New Britain right now. No severe thunderstorm warning on this, heading through Bristol, heading toward New Britain, but I wouldn't be surprised to get some gusty winds with this storm, Josh, as it moves on through. I'll put a storm track on it.
Yeah, Ryan, we're seeing a winds associated with that, possibly over 50 miles per hour, right towards where that's bowing out a little bit.
Yeah, should pass just south of us. We're right here by the West Farm Shopping Center, but just to the south, moving through Farmington, heading toward New Britain. That's next. So, Julie, if we can pull up some of those traffic cameras on 84 to watch this one coming in. Farmington near the Finneman Road exit over towards 72. That would be interesting to watch. Let's look outside of Windsor if we can. We've got another camera coming to us from Windsor. I believe it's a traffic camera showing the storm as it departs. So, oh, we don't have that camera. But anyway, let's go back to live first alert Doppler radar. And Josh, what were you going to say
Brian,
there?
If I can just take over here for one second, I want to change the radar and show you from the Long Island radar. We are still seeing some rotation. This is a little bit further away, and you can see it right here. So these green colors going away from the, or I should say going towards the radar. The red colors going away from the radar. So we still are seeing some rotation there, and that's likely why that tornado warning is still in effect. There still is the possibility of this producing a tornado. So we do want you to, take precautions for that. Of course, we can show you those precautions right here. Move to a basement or small interior room. If you are in this cone, if you are in the tornado warning, stay away from windows. You definitely want to stay away from the windows. A lot of times people want to, run to the window and see what's going on outside, but the best thing to do is go to the center part of your house, cover your head with a sturdy object if you start to, hear a lot of wind and things of that nature. And of course, turn up the volume on your TV. If you don't have a TV in the basement, like a lot of people don't, just turn up the volume on your TV and you can still listen to what's going on. We're still going to be announcing the towns that are it's moving towards, and you can also stream the NBC Connecticut app. You can download it on your iPhone, on your Android, and we have the coverage going on there as well. So here's that line of storms once again, now moving into Talon County, and we can zoom into it and show you the latest on what's going on. So really, this is extending from Vernon all the way up to Union, but the strongest part of the storm is, let me show you where that strong part of the storm is. It's right over Talon, just to the south of Talon, along Interstate 84. You can see those red colors, those blue colors. That's where we do have a little bit of rotation still occurring, and I do want to
just got a new report here coming in from Vernon of some trees down. The Rockville section of town, not a huge surprise there, and also a quarter-sized hail report came in from the Crystal Lake section of Ellington. So the storm is certainly producing some gusty winds and some hail. Not a surprise, and I agree with what I'm seeing here just to the south of Tolland, near the Coventry line. I think that, you've got it right there.
Yeah, we have it right here. So if you're on North River Road, Goose Lane, out towards Merrill Road, Timber Trail, the rotation, if it isn't already, it's moving in your direction within minutes. So we want you to take cover immediately. There, it's headed towards the Route 32 corridor and headed towards stores, headed towards, North Eagleville Road. And if you are near or around the UConn campus, we want you to take cover immediately, because this is just a few minutes away, and we still are seeing those signs of rotation. Let's give you a track once again on this, and we'll show you where it's headed. Headed off to the east-southeast, around 30 miles per hour. So we expect it in Merrow right around 4 minutes from now. Stores around 12 minutes from now at 5:49, Mansfield at 5:51, Spring Hill around 5:52, and out towards Chaffeeville around 5:53. But Ryan, the rotation does, correct me if I'm wrong, it looks like it might be increasing just a little bit here.
It's still there. There's no doubt about it. Still have some rotation moving on through, right on the Tolland-Coventry line, just to the south of 84.
Right.
Hey, let's take a look outside. We have some video from Hartford of some of the clouds as they moved on through, and it certainly did look fairly unsettling for a little bit as that storm developed. And wow, that's a great looking shot there, and you can see the storm off in the distance there from Hartford. I see some lightning there. I see a lot of rain, maybe a little bit of a lowering, but that's looking to the north of that storm as it was crossing the Connecticut River. Let's go back over to Live First Alert Doppler radar. I want to focus on this storm too, that's moving through New Britain and Bristol. This probably should have a severe thunderstorm warning on it. If it doesn't already, it probably needs one. Moving through Farmington, heading toward New Britain along 84 and along Route 9 in New Britain and Newington. I've got some good winds that are picking up here, and probably a little bit of small hail as well. Let me go back to the wind signature here if I can. And I have seen, especially in Bristol, some of the stronger winds moving in. So Farmington, New Britain, out toward Berlin, Bristol, and down through Southington. You're next with this storm as it moves on through. All right, let's go back up to the storm that we've got through Tolland County, because as Josh mentioned, the rotation has increased a little bit right along the Tolland-Coventry line. And we'll zoom in a little bit closer for you to show you this storm. And there's that tornado warning. We've got it for Tolland County and parts of Windham County right here. So this is Tolland, that's 84. The Coventry begins right about here. So if there was a tornado, it's right on the Tolland-Coventry line. And we'll zoom in a little bit closer for you. And you can see, I got some rotation here. It's not terribly strong, but there is some rotation that has developed. So right on the southern end, so all the rain and the hail is to the north. You sort of have this arc that stretches from Willington and Crystal Lake and Rockville down through Vernon. That's where the heaviest rain is. The tornado is out ahead of all of that. It's right on the leading edge there, where you have that potential for a tornado to develop. And we'll zoom in and get you down to some street level here to take a closer look. So we're talking about 44 coming, should be in Mansfield shortly, coming out of Coventry. There's Route 32. Coventry sort of dives to the south along the river. So there's Coventry. There's Route 31. If you're at the Bidwell Tavern having some wings right now, looking to the north, you probably got a nice little storm coming in. I think it stays just north of the center of Coventry, but it's going to come close to Storrs. So here's Yukon. Here's 44. If there is a tornado, there it is, right along 44, coming to the east. Let's take a live look outside in Manchester right now. You can see those clouds that are beginning to abate in the Manchester area, but looking off to the east, looks a little bit more dark and a little bit more ominous. And those are the clouds that are producing that tornado warning, with some rotation showing up, and the potential is there for some strong gusty winds. We have at least some reports of some trees and power lines that have come down. Let's take a closer look here, back to live first alert Doppler radar. If there's a tornado, there it is over Tolland County, and let's take a look at there's the tornado warning that encompasses most of Tolland County now, including Storrs and Mansfield and a little sliver of Willington. We'll go back over to the velocity mode here on radar to take a closer look, and yep, you got some rotation still. So let's look out ahead of this. So this is going to be near 44 shortly, and 32. So there's 32 Penny Hill Road, Hunting Lodge Road, over North Eagleville Road. There's Yukon's right here. So we're not far from Yukon. Yukon did send out an alert to the students, letting them know that to get into a safe spot. Most of the buildings on campus can certainly withstand a tornado. They're built very well. As long as the Yukon students are inside, they'll be okay with this storm as it moves in. Worst thing to do, if you've got some kids at Yukon right now, you're sending them a text message and saying, hey, make sure you're not standing outside. I wouldn't be, eyes glued against a window here as the storm moves in. Stay inside, stay away from windows if you are in Yukon. That's where the storm is. So there's North Eagleville Road. There's 44, the depot campus at Yukon back over here. Storm's coming in from the northwest right now. We'll zoom in a little bit closer. Yeah, Josh, what do you have?
And Ryan, we do have some photos into the social media center. As you were saying, Kevin and Tolland keeping an eye on things here, and you can see he is reporting some hail up in Tolland, as we were also seeing on live first alert Doppler radar.
Yeah, and not surprised at that hail, because we got that report from Crystal Lake of some hail as well. So that hail threat is to the north of a possible tornado threat. So let's go back to live first alert Doppler radar. If you had a tornado, it's to the south. There it is. There's a little bit of a hook echo coming through Coventry right now, heading toward 44. It's going to be very shortly right over Yukon. So this is going to be very close to right over the Yukon campus here. I just got an update from the Weather Service there.
And we an extension on the tornado warning into Windham County now.
So that warning goes until 6:15 now. So Windham County is under this tornado warning, as well as Tolland County. So let's take a closer look here at where we're going next. So the rotation is back along 32 in Coventry. There's the river. There's 32. There's 195 heading north out of Yukon. And we'll take a closer look in Storrs here, because Storrs, you're up next. So there's Horse Barn Hill. You can get your ice cream there at the Dairy Barn. Hilltop up over here, just off 195 to the west. And there's North Eagleville Road, right over campus. Gample's right here. You're next for this storm, and some strong gusty winds certainly a possibility as the storm moves in, and the potential's there for a tornado. I still see some rotation coming out of Coventry right now. This is going to be over Yukon shortly. Let's zoom in a little bit closer here.
And Ryan, we are starting to get some reports of damage. Enfield now has over 500 customers without power.
Okay, so and that was the storm that at first was sort of developed right over the Connecticut River to the west of it, near the airport up towards Suffield, has since come east, and now it's over Tolland County. So I'm going to zoom back out there. There's their rotation over Merrow, right over Coventry, heading across 44. This is now just about in Mansfield. So the town of Mansfield includes Storrs. So Storrs is where Yukon is, but you've got to be concerned here, right over 32 and 195, possible tornado moving east toward the Yukon campus at Storrs. Let's zoom things out a little bit for you, and I want to show you where we have that tornado warning in effect. The tornado warning now does include Willimantic. It includes Scotland up toward Hampton, and then back the southern part of Ashford now under that tornado warning for that. That's the little spin. That's the rotation right there over 44. And we are getting some reports from the storm that we did have some decent-sized hail to the size of a quarter. fairly common occurrence in the Midwest and the Plains, fairly unusual occurrence here in Connecticut. It's hard to get hail that big, but we managed to do it today with this thunderstorm that developed. And storms that spin, storms that are supercell storms that spin around, you will wind up getting extra lift in the atmosphere, so it can support the weight of these hailstones. You get the ice up in the clouds, and the stronger the storm spins, the stronger the updraft is, and you're able to get those hailstones to hold together a little bit longer and grow bigger and bigger. So now that we've got Windham County in the tornado warning, I'm going to time it out for you here. There is some rotation, possible tornado. I'm going to say it's a relatively low threat of a tornado, but there definitely is a chance for a tornado, and there's the timing of the storm as it moves on through. And you can see in Newington, a little dark there as the storm moves on through. And that's a separate thunderstorm that's moving to the south of Hartford now. But the tornado warning, as we go back to there, you can see, actually, if we go back to that live picture quickly, if we can, I'm not sure how easily we can do that, but you can see there's that storm that's moving through New Britain and Farmington. I was just trying to get the iris right there on the camera lens, and you can see clouds a little bit lower, but nothing that's really jumping out at me here is something that's unusually severe. But some gusty winds possible with that storm as it moves through. Let's go back to live first alert Doppler radar. We'll time it out for you here. Stores right about now, the possible tornado, if it were to develop. There is some rotation in the clouds right over Stores right now. It's moving through at this moment, heading toward Chaplin at 6 o'clock, Bedlam Corner at 5:58. I'm not sure where Bedlam Corner is, but hopefully no Bedlam in Bedlam Corner. Hampton at 6:08 as the storm moves on through. So let's go back now that we've got the storm over Yukon right now. I want to get really, really close here. Take a closer look at the storm. So just crossing, so right along 32 and 44, Brigham Tavern Road, crossing 44. And then there's North Eagleville Road, just past the Yukon campus. There's Yukon, then just moving west out of campus. So we've got that rotation. I mean, the clouds are rotating. It's not possible rotation. There is rotation here. So we know that the clouds are spinning around up over Coventry and now into Mansfield along 44. And this is sort of drifting off to the southeast at about 25 or 30 miles per hour. So this is going to get very close to Yukon. Should cross right over campus. And there you go. There's Stores. There's North Eagleville Road. And so let's take a closer look here. There's a new little update here. There's your rotation right there. Yeah, what do you have, Josh?
Emphasize again, we are still seeing a decent-sized rotation from the Albany, from the OKX radar, from Upton, New York. It's out on Long Island, and you can see that here, those red colors and blue colors going against each other. So there's rotation being shown on really all of our radars, and I can show you as we zoom things out here. This is headed right towards and right over now the Yukon campus. You can see it headed towards Mansfield along Route 195, Dunham Pond Road into Eagleville and along Route 275. And as we zoom out, you can see this tornado warning extends all the way into Windham County. So, it started out in Hartford County, went through Towland County, and then now into Windham County. One thing we will note, if you're just joining us, we don't have any reports of a tornado actually on the ground. This is indicated from what we're looking at on radar. So radar is scanning around 4,000 to 5,000 feet up in the air, and we can see a good amount of rotation. The winds are rotating up there. Is that rotation reaching the ground? Well, that's what we're trying to figure out, and that's what we're going to be looking at. But that is why the tornado warning is in effect right now, because we're seeing all of that rotation at around 5,000 to 6,000 feet up in the atmosphere. So we can switch things over here. And yep, we're still seeing that rotation.
Hey Josh, take a look at the storm, and let's go back to the storm in Southington.
Okay.
If we can, let's go to Max C. There we go. Take a closer look at it. Let me go back here. That one does look like it is getting a little better organized here. And I think we probably do have some gusty winds and some hail coming through Southington. And there is some rotation here too. I mean, it's sort of broad. but there is a crossing 84 right now in Southington, just to the south of New Britain, along 71 back toward Kensington. You've got a pretty good storm here, and these storms, no warning on this. Sometimes you got, our friends at the Weather Service are really focused on that tornado warned storm out in northeastern Connecticut, and sometimes you can get these other storms sort of sneak up on you. But Southington, no doubt about it. This is a good kind of storm moving on through, and I'm hearing a lot of thunder, some loud thunder, and some real heavy rain here at the station in West Hartford. I'm going to time this out for you, too. I want to make sure we're covering everyone here. If you are in Berlin, storm's right upon you right now. Cromwell around 6:10, Middletown at 6:12, Higganum at 6:23, and East Hampton at 6:25. And also, Josh, I did find out, one of our viewers tweeted me, Bedlam Corner is in Chaplin. So now we know where Bedlam Corner is up there in Windham County. So let's zoom back in here. Tornado warning continues. Tolland and Windham counties. Possible tornado right now, right over Stores. That's where the rotation is the strongest. Still looking at some rotation here over Stores, right over Yukon. I mean, this is sort of a direct hit here. The good news is we have not had a ton of damage reports. The damage reports have been fairly sparse and fairly minor. But that's not to say that you can't get a tornado to touch down suddenly. The environment supports tornadoes today. If you were watching yesterday, we were talking about possible tornadoes. I've got some rotation over Stores, Codfish Falls Road, over toward Gurleyville Road, Chaffeeville Road in Mansfield. We've got that possible tornado. And a tornado, if it's not on the ground now, may develop at any minute. We don't have any reports of tornadoes that have touched down, but the radar has shown, as we've gone through the afternoon, Live First Alert Doppler radar has shown plenty of signs of rotation from time to time. Sometimes it weakens, sometimes it tightens back up. And remember, with radar, we're looking up at the clouds. We're not looking down near the ground. So we care about what's going on in the clouds because it can give us an idea of what's going to happen shortly thereafter at the surface. If the clouds are spinning around really fast, you've got a chance for that rotation to reach the ground. And so that's why tornado warnings are issued based on radar. Doesn't necessarily mean there's a tornado on the ground, but certainly can't be ruled out. Let me do this one more time here. I want to get the storm track on here for you. Right through Mansfield and Stores, heading off to the east-southeast. So we've got Mansfield right now. You've got that possible tornado overhead in Stores, heading toward Atwoodville at 6 o'clock. Chaplin around 6:04, and Hampton at 6:12. So Tolland County and Windham County next with a storm as it moves on through, and we'll zoom back out and show you everyone. And I'm going to put the radar into motion so you can get an idea of where these storms are moving. And there's the line of storms, pretty solid line of storms here, stretching now from Windham County near Pomfret all the way back over towards Southington and Woolkit, getting a good storm coming through. And this is going to head toward Middletown shortly, and we'll see how these develop. Could have more warnings or severe thunderstorm warnings or tornado warnings issued throughout the evening. We've got a severe thunderstorm watch in effect for all of Connecticut. A watch means severe thunderstorms are possible. A warning means something is imminent, so radar has detected it, or we've got ground truth of some damage or a tornado. So far, no reports of a tornado, but one could form at any time. We do have reports of some fairly large hail that moved through Tolland County. Also getting some reports of some tree and power line damage as the storm moved through. Got a report just a little bit ago from Ellington of some pretty strong winds as the storm approached from the west. So I'm not sure if we've got an update on the power outages, Josh. I do know we had about 500 outages.
Up to about 2,000 now. Most of those outages in Vernon, just under 1,200 in Vernon and around 600 in Enfield. So those numbers are going up, indication that there is damage occurring.
And when we saw that sort of spike in the velocity, that was right over Vernon, especially the Rockville section of Vernon. So if there was some wind damage, that's where it would be. If there was a tornado, I mean, it could have been in the same spot either. So it could be a quick tornado that touched down, or just some strong winds. But as I like to say with storms like this, Josh, wind is wind. It doesn't really matter how you get the wind. If the winds are 80 miles per hour, it doesn't matter if it's from a tornado or just wind. It can still knock down trees and power lines.
Yeah, and hey, Ryan, take a look at this photo taken from Emma at Yukon, and you can see how dark those clouds are. You can see, how low those clouds are as well. Just an indication of what's going on out in Tolland County right now.
Yeah, and when we're watching those storms come on through, I think the rotation has weakened nicely, which I like to see moving through Tolland County now, but it can perk back up. We've seen that happen a couple times. It seems like we're sort of getting a nice a break, and then suddenly the rotation tightens back up, and the tornado warning is extended. So right over Mansfield now, heading down through Chaplin along Route 6 and Willimantic. We've got that tornado warning in effect. Yep.
And Ryan, I do think we need to keep a close eye on the storm moving through Southington right now, likely producing possibly quarter-sized hail associated with it, and we are seeing some stronger winds, even some rotation. Kind of broad right now, as you mentioned before, Ryan, but we are seeing that rotation strengthen a little bit here, and Ryan has the latest on that storm.
Yeah, so I've got it zoomed in here, right over Southington. Yeah, it almost looks like you got a little inflow notch here, Josh. Right over, it looks like toward Kensington. So that can be an area that you've got to watch for. Sometimes you can get a brief little spin up.
And I did reach out to the Weather Service on that, just waiting to hear back on if there'll be a warning on that.
And yeah, some decent winds coming out of the north now in Southington. One of the issues here is that the storm is actually moving perpendicular to the radar beam. So without giving you a geometry lesson here, I'm sure you want to avoid that. But sometimes it can actually miss some of the winds. It can only detect winds that are blowing parallel to the radar beam and not perpendicular. So sometimes we miss some of the winds here. That's, live first alert Doppler radar is great, and that's the one drawback with Doppler radar, and it's all Doppler radar. It can only measure radial velocity as opposed to all velocity. But that's a good signal, though, on 364 in Southington. And yeah, you're right. I mean, right over Kensington here on 71, there is some spin, some rotation right on the leading edge of this. But that's a good wind signature moving through Southington right now. I would be shocked if we didn't get some reports of some trees coming down. And this is sort of abutting right along West Peak and Meriden. So there's Hubbard Park in Meriden. You see where it sort of dips down, Southington does. That's right along the park there. So 691 is down here. We're to the north of 691 on the Southington Meriden line. And that's where you've got a pretty good storm coming on through. And the potential here, quarter-sized hail and strong gusty winds, I think those would be your main threats with the storm as it moves on through. And yeah, can't rule out some rotation, especially the winds are out of the south. Meriden's winds have been out of the south. Hartford's winds have been out of the south. And that tells me that in the lowest few hundred or few thousand feet of the atmosphere, there's a lot of spin. So just waiting to see if these storms tap into that. The one up in northeastern Connecticut is, and that's why we've got that tornado warning in effect. But there's the storm coming through Southington and Berlin, and I'll time it out for you before we get back to the storm up to the north and east. And let's zoom out here a little bit. We're moving off to the southeast at about, let's say, there you go. Well, we'll do this one more time here. There's the storm coming out of Middletown. We're talking about Middletown at 6:08. East Hampton at 6:21, Haddam 6:25, Moodus at 6:29, East Haddam 6:32, Colchester 6:39. Watch out for this storm. It's a decent storm coming on through, and I do think there is the risk here for some damaging winds and some hail. The tornado threat right now is greatest in northeastern Connecticut, and that's why we have a tornado warning in effect for Tolland and Windham counties. Tornado warning goes until 6:15 this evening. And let's go back to, let's see if we have how the rotation looks here. Yeah, not much. Some strong winds, but I think that rotation signature has definitely weakened now from where it was a bit ago. But it's right over Yukon. Yukon got a decent thunderstorm as it came on through, heading over toward Chaplin. And this is the potential here where we did have that potential tornado. Hey, let's go back. Let's go to the social media center. Josh has got a tweet from Anthony in stores.
Yeah, Ryan. Check this out. You can see just how strong these winds are. Look at those trees blowing around. I mean, we're definitely talking at least 40, 50 mile an hour wind gusts right there as the rains just whipped. It's why we're seeing some power outage issues. And then to talk about the other storm, we have this tweet from Courtney saying trees down and wires down in some areas of town. Bad lightning, heavy rains in the Plantsville section of Southington.
Yep, that's Southington, Plantsville. So near exit 31 there in Southington. Not a surprise based on that velocity signature we saw in Southington. That's why we were talking about there the potential for some trees and power lines to come down. It looks like that is exactly what happened. So let's take a closer look here. Let's set the scene. I'm going to zoom things back out for all of Connecticut. We've got, I think, a low tornado threat here in Windham County. I'm not seeing much rotation anymore. Still, though, tornado warning in effect for Windham County and Tolland County until 6:15 this evening, and you're watching NBC Connecticut News at 6 as we covered this line of thunderstorms moving on through the state. We've been on since just before 5 o'clock watching the storms. We had a tornado warning that was issued up toward Bradley Airport, and that tornado warning has continued to be extended. And there, that is, the tornado warning continues now from Willimantic on north. And there also is here down through southern Hartford County. We've got a good line of storms, and we don't have a warning on it now, but we do know it is producing damaging winds. So if you are in Middletown or Meriden, you're next with this storm as it moves on through. And I think this storm may actually have the best chance of, right now, of producing strong damaging winds. And I'm going to time it out for you as it heads to the east-southeast. Meriden, right? Yeah, what do you got, Josh?
While you're showing that, I checked in with the Weather Service. They're saying the rotation there is very broad. That's why they haven't went with a warning yet. But, of course, we are seeing some damage out there. So,
yeah,
I'm guessing that could change.
Yeah, you don't need the rotation to produce damaging winds. I mean, you've got this storm coming into Meriden now from Berlin, and just heading over the Berlin Turnpike, the very southern part of the Berlin Turnpike, right where it becomes an expressway, where it sort of cuts off into Meriden near East Main Street. But yeah, I mean, you've got some good winds coming in here now, no doubt about that. In Middletown along 66, up over Higbee Mountain there, and soon to cross over toward Middletown. I think you've got a good chance for some good winds here. So no severe thunderstorm warning in effect, but I like the look of that for some strong winds. So we've got the tornado warning for northeastern Connecticut, and this line of thunderstorms moving on through. Put into motion for you, and there you can see the line of storms. The stuff near Waterbury is fairly weak out toward Danbury, but what you've got from Southington and Meriden on up through northeastern Connecticut is certainly a bit more impressive. And we'll zoom in a little bit closer here. We do have some reports of some strong winds and power outages up in stores as the storm moved on through. The rotation is fairly weak, though, so I think you're probably looking at more of a damaging wind signature here than you are a tornado. But still, you've got the potential for winds that are 50, 60 miles per hour with this storm as it moves on through. And actually, you can zoom in a little bit more here. I can show you moving through Mansfield into Ashford right now, right along 89. Those are some strong winds. Those are 40, 50, 60 mile an hour winds showing up here, coming from west to east. So you certainly have the potential here for some strong winds coming out of Tolland County, coming into Chaplin right now along Route 198. That's something that we're going to have to watch as this storm moves east. So the tornado potential, I think, is quite low. I don't see anything now, looking at the radar, that jumps out at me as rotation. Sort of noisy.
With another storm report. Down trees, and I'm seeing some photo evidence of this. Route 32 near the 44 junction in Mansfield.
Yep. Okay.
And it looks like there was a good amount of damage there, if that's, of course, from that storm that hit around 5 to 10 minutes ago.
That was the one we were watching. So 32 and 44, right? In Mansfield? Okay, yep. So that's where you are. So that's by the Depot campus at Stores, Depot Road, and then this up here, this is up toward Coventry. So right where Coventry and Mansfield come together, just to the west of the UConn campus. So not surprised that we do have some reports of damage here from strong winds. Could it have been a tornado? Sure, it could have been. We had a tornado warning in effect. There were some signs of rotation. That rotation signature has weakened as the storm has moved to the east, but I still see the potential for some strong winds. So what should you do if you're in the path of this storm? Tornado safety tips for you. Move to a basement, small interior room. Stay away from windows. Cover your cover your head with a sturdy object, and turn up the TV volume. We'll let you know when the storm has passed, when the safety risk has moved on past your area. So that's what we're here to do. We're here to keep you safe, and that's why we're on the air with the continuing coverage for this tornado warning. This is now our third day of tornado coverage here in Connecticut this year. If you remember back in April, we had a tornado warning for Tolland County, and then a couple weeks ago we had a couple tornado warnings for a storm that started in Glastonbury and Wethersfield and moved east. So the same area started getting hit quite a bit this year. A couple of these tornado warnings, and this is the worst of the weather from Mansfield up through Chaplin now, down through Willimantic. Willimantic should miss this. You're under the tornado warning in Willimantic in Scotland along Route 14, but Route 6 up toward North Wyndham and the Wyndham Airport up through Chaplin, you're next with this storm as it moves on through. The potential here for certainly some gusty winds along Route 198, South Bear Hill Road, Atwoodville Road, some strong gusty winds moving in, Pumpkin Hill Road as well in and Chaplin, I think we've got the potential for some strong winds to move on through pretty quickly there. Let's take a look. We actually have a new severe thunderstorm warning. Not a surprise by this for portions of New Haven County, and zoom things out and show you that. So yeah, this is the storm we're watching with a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Middlesex County. You can see Cromwell, Middletown, Middlefields next at risk for this storm as it moves on through. And I think the threat for this one is probably, at least right now, not a tornado, but that could change. We're going to have to watch this closely. So some strong damaging winds, certainly a possibility with this storm as it moves on through. So I'm going to time it out for you. And Josh, I just retweeted Robin Stores, has some pretty impressive damage in stores. So if you want to, if we can turn that one around for you, show that on air. There's the storm coming on through Middletown now. We're talking about Middletown right about now. Get ready for this storm. There's the center of Middletown right there. The worst of the storm moving through right now. New severe thunderstorm warning in effect for parts of Meriden, Middlefield, Middletown, over toward East Hampton, and then over back into Colchester. This is the severe thunderstorm warning we're watching. And let's zoom things back out here a little bit more. There's the severe thunderstorm warning for this storm. It's heading through Meriden now. We do have some reports that there has been some damage up in Southington. Some trees and some power lines came down, and that's the same storm that's now moving into Middletown. Tornado warning up to the north. I don't see much rotation still with this. Let's take a closer look here. I'll zoom in for you and take a look at the storm one more time, just to see if this has changed. So we had gone, I'd say, a good 15 minutes without seeing much concerning rotation, and I still don't see any right now. I do see some strong winds, maybe 50, 60 miles per hour moving into Hampton, but I don't see signs of a tornado. Josh, let's take a look at what you've got, some damage reports coming in from Talon County.
Yeah, so we have this image from Joey in Rockville. Says missed out on the hail, but did see the wind damage associated with this. You can see that large tree right across the road, and well, we'll see. There you go. You can see that tree right across the road there. We also have this from Ron, and you can see down trees and power lines on Plains Road in Mansfield. And Ryan, scouring through social media, we saw several photos of damage in Mansfield. So, you know, and that is one of those areas where we're seeing a lot of that rotation. Was the damage caused by a tornado? Probably not, but definitely an area that saw possibly some straight-line wind damage associated with that. So,
and also just got a report of some hail to the size of a quarter in Willington. So a bunch of quarter-size hail reports coming out from the storm as it moved on through northeastern Connecticut.
And that's kind of the threshold of what could cause damage. Is anything at quarter size or greater can certainly cause damage out there. So, you know, while the wind aspect is a big aspect of it, obviously the hail is as well. Let's go right over to live First Alert Doppler radar here. I want to give you an update on this storm and show you exactly what we're looking at. We're starting to see this line of storms now propagate into Windham County. You can see it's already moved through the Chaplin area. It's headed towards Hampton, and really headed over that Route 32 section. Willimantic getting in on this. Windham headed towards Scotland and along Route 203 and also Route 14. So we can give you a track on this. I do want to show you some of those brighter green colors representing where the winds are the strongest, and you can see that just to the north of Chaplin along Route 198. One thing that we're not seeing right now is much in the way of rotation, so that's certainly some good news, but we still are seeing some strong winds associated with this. We still do have a tornado warning in effect, and that remains in effect. Is that 6:15, Ryan?
Yep, 6:15. And also just got a report of dime-sized hail in Berlin from that storm to the south, so that severe thunderstorm warning storm.
Right, and let me give you a track on this storm. Now that it's kind of extended out, we can show you where it's headed over the next 15 to 20 minutes or so. So it's moving into Willimantic right now at 6:09, 6:14 into Windham, Brooklyn around 6:17, Scotland 6:19, Westminster 6:22, Warregan section of Plainfield around 626, Canterbury around 627, Central Village 629, and closer to 632 into Moosup. So that's the one storm we're monitoring. And then we're also monitoring this severe thunderstorm moving into Middletown. And Ryan, it does look like there's some strong winds associated with this.
Yeah, I think so.
It's probably a matter of time before we start to see some damage reports.
Yeah, let's take a look. We've got some live pictures from that storm as it moves on through, I believe, in the Hartford area. Where is this? This is East Hartford. You can see on Route 2, traffic moving a little slow on Route 2. Not a surprise. Traffic's always brutal on Route 2 at 6:10 in the afternoon. And guys, if we could check out on Route 9, let's try to get the Aragoni Bridge camera up.
And we also have good images from Matt Austin as well. If we can show those.
Okay, yeah, if we can get Matt Austin shot up as well. I know he has stumbled across a little bit of damage that has developed. In the meantime, though, while we're getting those ready, and there's Matt Austin's live shot, and you can see there a tree across the road. Not a surprise. Is he in Rockville? Vernon. Yes, he's in Rockville and Vernon. And you can see some tree damage there. So once you start getting winds over 40 or 50 miles per hour, you can start taking down some trees and power lines, and that's the scene there. And just a good reminder, when you get weather like this, don't venture outside after the storm. You never know if those lines are still energized. Notice Matt and his photographer are quite a distance away, staying away from that. But it looks like that black car there, right in front of the white one, in rough shape with that tree right on top of it with some of those wires down as well. All right, let's go back to live First Alert Doppler radar. We'll track the storms. We've got a couple that we're watching now. We've got two. So we've got this one in northeastern Connecticut with a tornado warning here that continues for Chaplin and Hampton and Windham, but I don't see any rotation anymore. So this warning is going to expire in a few minutes. So that's good news. The tornado threat has come to an end, but there has been some damage through Tolland County as the storm moved on through. There was also some hail. We also have this storm now in the Middletown area that stretches back toward Meriden, and these storms are decent. I mean, these storms are not anything to sneeze at. They have certainly strengthened some, and we do know that there have been some reports of some damage and even some hail. We had dime-sized hail in Berlin as the storm moved on through, and we also have a report of some trees and power lines that came down in Southington over toward the Plantsville section of town. So this is the line of storms to the south. Severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Meriden and out through most of Middlesex and New London counties. Durham at 6:20, Higginham 6:22, Haddam at 6:30, Little City at 6:35, East Haddam at 6:39, and Salem at 6:46. Josh, I just heard that in the background there. I imagine that's the Weather Service saying the warning is going to expire. Well, no, new severe thunderstorm warning here.
No, that was me asking them a question, and I should have said something other than tornado.
No, it's good.
The noise. So we're trying to get an update if they are going to let this expire at 6:15.
And I'm guessing they will, because we've got this new severe thunderstorm warning through southern Windham County. So as the storm moves to the east, it's been now a good 20-25 minutes since I've seen rotation. So I think we're transitioning over to just some strong gusty winds. But, winds can still take down trees and power lines no matter which direction they're blowing. They can be blowing in a circle or blowing in one direction. Doesn't really matter a whole lot. Can still cause damage. But this is the timing for the storms moving on through. Let's head over to Middletown now. And Middletown getting rocked. That's the view there just to the south of the Aragoni Bridge. So if you look on the right there, there's the Canoe Club, I believe it's called now, right along the Connecticut River, and they're getting some good winds coming in on Route 9, no doubt about that. Those winds gusting, and sometimes the winds can pick up pretty quickly. It doesn't take much to start taking down some trees and power lines in Connecticut. We've got a lot of trees. Everyone loves the tree in their front yard, and sometimes when you start talking about winds 30, 40, 50 miles per hour, when the trees are fully leafed, they can come down pretty quickly. So I wouldn't be surprised if in the Middletown area we at least get some isolated power outage reports. But that's Middletown now as the storm moves on through. Let's go back to live First Alert Doppler radar. I'll show you just where we were in Middletown and head back over to that storm to the south. The tornado warning here is going to expire in mere seconds. So you've got two storms that are severe, producing gusty winds and a little bit of hail. But there's that storm in Middletown moving on through, just crossing the Connecticut River. So we were looking the camera was right about there, looking to the north. So the worst of the wind is actually down to the south. It's heading out toward the northern part of Haddam there, to the southern part of Middletown, over toward Pratt, right along the river near the power plant there. That's where the worst of the weather is, right along the Connecticut River. So there you go, just to the north of Higginham. That's where the worst of the weather is going to be moving in. It's going to cross the river shortly, head toward Route 151 in East Haddam. What are the threats with this storm? Well, right now we're not talking about a tornado, so that's great, but we are talking about some strong gusty winds, certainly a possibility with this storm as it moves on through. Although I do have some rotation here that's worth watching, moving along just to the south of 155 here in Middletown. A little bit of rotation just sort of showing up for me here. Right along Millbrook Road and Route 17 to the south of Middletown. Josh, what do you have?
They are going to let that warning expire, Ryan, and I also do have some new images in from the social media center. So, all
right, Josh,
let me show you this first one. You can see storm damage on High Street. This was tweeted by.
I don't have you up quite yet. We're trying to get that social media center up, but yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so what we're looking at here is some storm damage on High Street, tweeted from the Vernon Police Department. So you can see a little bit of tree damage there. And then Kevin up in Towland, one of our weather observers, says was a great one. That's because he's a big weather fanatic. And what he means by that is the storm was pretty strong. Take a look at the winds. Right by his house, you can see tree limbs being thrown around here. I'm guessing winds probably over 50 miles per hour associated with this. And this was in Towland at one of the highest elevations in Towland. That's where he lives up there. I also want to show you this image tweeted into us by Robert Stevenson, and it's showing us trees down in Enfield. You can see the tree down right next to that house.
Where is he?
And from what we're looking at, it doesn't look like there was any damage to the house. So hopefully that was the case. But you can see some big tree limbs down in Enfield as well, Ryan.
Yeah, and that's the same storm that moved all the way from the Massachusetts border down through portions of now Windham County. NBC Connecticut's Matt Austin is live in Vernon now. I believe he's in the Rockville section of Vernon, just to the north of 84, with more on some of that damage that they've seen there. Matt?
Yeah, Ryan, Josh, it seems like this area, the Rockville section, has taken a pretty good hit from the fast-moving storm. As I step out of the way, my photographer, Nick, is going to zoom down Prospect Street, and you can see that a pretty healthy branch has come down across the entire street. Police have asked us to stay this far back because it's also really done a number on the power lines there. Might have also done some damage to the cars over there. Hard to tell from this distance. The good news is we have not heard of anyone being hurt, at least in this location. Just driving around this section of Vernon in the Rockville area, there are quite a few power outages. Lights are down in this section of town, so be careful if you are traveling out there. And was just looking at the numbers for Eversource, 2,600 across the state that are without power right now. A good chunk of that, 1,200 right here in Vernon. People were describing to me really a strong, a powerful storm that just blasted through this area. At least one neighbor describing what he thought appeared to be a little motion, a little twisting motion in the skies above. Again, we have not gotten any confirmation of exactly what struck this area, but hard to.